Dillian Whyte knocks Dereck Chisora out cold in the 11th round with one left hook. One punch knockout. It was a knockout of the year candidate, in fact. Dillian Whyte's left hook is one of, if not the most dangerous left hook in the entire heavyweight division. He always had a good left hook, but he's been improving upon that punch fight after fight, year upon year. We've seen spectacular results from that hook this year alone. Knocked Lucas Browne out cold with it, dropped Joseph Parker for the first time in his career with it, and now knocked Dereck Chisora out cold with it. So anybody who fights Dillian Whyte has to watch out for that shot. They can't sleep on it, or they'll be put to sleep by it. That's how dangerous it is. Having said that, I thought this was a bit of a flat performance by Dillian Whyte overall. He has definitely improved technique-wise. You could see from the first Dereck Chisora fight, in this fight, he was a lot more controlled. There wasn't the wild swings. He wasn't so hot-headed in this fight. He was a lot more calm and relaxed. But at the same time, I felt like he was actually a bit too relaxed. I felt like there were moments where Dillian Whyte needed to step on the gas and inject some pace into the action, because he was actually getting outworked by Dereck Chisora for long stretches in this fight. You see, in this fight, Dereck Chisora wasn't languishing on the ropes like he was first time around. Dereck Chisora was working, pushing Dillian back. So Dillian, a lot of the time, was languishing on the ropes himself and wasn't getting much respite. He was getting hit with a lot of body shots from Dereck Chisora, not that many clean headshots, to be fair. And again, that's because Dillian wasn't as reckless this time around. Okay, so it was good that he wasn't as reckless, but I did feel that when he stunned Chisora, it was curious that he didn't go for it earlier in the fight. Now, I know Dillian says there's a reason why I didn't go for it, because he actually hurt Chisora, I think, in the opening minute of the fight. And strangely, he didn't go for him. Now, it paid off this time, but in future fights, you know, look, Dillian and his team have got their own strategy, and maybe they believe it's best for him to, you know, against the Dereck Chisora, not go for it in the first round when he has him hurt, not waste the energy. But there are going to be some fights where if you miss an opportunity like that, you'll actually regret it later on in the fight, because you might end up losing yourself. So a very, very calm performance by Dillian. I felt a bit too calm. I felt, and the judges also felt, that Dereck Chisora was picking up a lot of rounds. You know, I didn't score the fight, but the impression I had was that Dereck Chisora was actually ahead in this fight. And according to what the Sky team said, two of the judges at the time of the knockout had Dereck Chisora ahead, and that's despite the fact that he was deducted 2 points. 1 point was deducted for low blows, and the second point was deducted for elbowing Dillian Whyte in the face. Now, does it say here which rounds? No, it doesn't say which rounds the points were deducted in. One of the point deductions was in the 11th round, and the other one was several rounds earlier. Now, like I say, Dillian Whyte was boxing a lot more controlled, picking his knife. He was counterpunching it. In the first round, I was really impressed with how sharp Dillian Whyte's counters were. They were actually looking lethal in the first round, how sharp his counters were. I've never seen his counters that sharp so early. But as the fight progressed, as I say, Dillian just became listless, just very flat. There wasn't the aggression in his combinations. You know, when he fought Lucas Browne, he was relaxed too. But when he hurt Lucas Browne, he stepped on the gas and he came out with this explosion of punches, these hard combinations. Against Dereck, it just appeared to me as though his punch power was going down and down and down and depleting. Maybe it's because the body shots from Dereck Chisora were wearing him down. Maybe he's just had a long year and many hard camps, and he's just not as energized now as he was earlier in the year. Maybe he lost the weight from the last fight a little too quickly. I'm not sure, but I just did not see the energy in Dillian Whyte's performance here that we saw against Lucas Browne or we saw against Joseph Parker. didn't even see the energy in his performance here that we saw in the first fight that he had with Chisora. I actually felt like he had more energy in the first fight than we saw here. So I don't know what Dillian's whole demeanor in the build up to this fight was just very low key, very calm, which is good, obviously. But you don't want to be too relaxed. You don't want to be so relaxed that you're half falling asleep. And that's, to me, what Dillian looked like at times in this fight. You know, maybe it was a case where there was no needle and Dillian himself needs a bit of needle. Maybe he needs a bit of beef to bring the best performance out of himself. But yeah, I feel like it was getting very, very late for Dillian to try to pull something off. Two of the judges, as I say, apparently had, in fact, does it have the judges' scorecards? No, not yet. The two of the judges had Dereck ahead. So if he would have won that 11th, won the 12th, he would have been victorious on the judges' scorecards. But to me, what happened in the 11th round prior to the knockout was crucial, because Dereck Chisora was deducted a point for elbowing Dillian Whyte in the head. But this was a response to Dillian Whyte leaning down on Dereck Chisora's back, which is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. That's something Vladimir Klitschko used to do to fighters all the time and get away with, mind you. It's an illegal thing. You're not supposed to be leaning on people like that. Plenty of fighters do it. Lennox Lewis used to do it because it drains your opponent's energy. So because Dillian was leaning on him, Dereck Chisora just flicked his elbow up in Dillian's face, and the referee saw that and deducted a point from Dereck Chisora, and Chisora had already had a point deducted. He was so frustrated by that point deduction that he charged in recklessly after it, trying to claw back the deficit of that point deduction and the previous point deduction for low blows. And from what I saw, the red mist came down on Dereck Chisora and he went in reckless, and that's why he got caught with that big shot. Don't get it twisted. Dillian, there was still an element of Dillian setting it up, but the frustration of Chisora, I believe, is what made him so reckless that he left himself open like that and gave Dillian that opportunity. So that did kind of leave a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, because I felt like the ref kind of did Del dirty a little bit there with that. That was very harsh as far as I'm concerned, because it was tit for tat. One guy was leaning down, the other guy flicked the elbow in his face to say, hey, don't lean on me. The ref should have just said to both of them, hey, knock it off. But to deduct a point like that, no, I didn't like it. The first point deduction, yes, Del Boy did throw some low blows, okay? But, and he was warned a couple times, I think, before that for low blows. But I feel like the referee should have been clear, taking him to one side and said, look, if you hit him low again, I'm going to deduct a point, and made it very clear. Do you understand? Because when a fighter is in the heat of battle, they're not always listening clearly to the referee's instructions if the referee don't take charge of the situation and say, listen to me very clearly. You do that again and I'm taking a point off you, you know? So the first point deduction, I'm not going to grumble about it too much, but I feel like slightly harsh. But the second point deduction, I felt like that was, nah. I did not like that at all from the referee. And as I say, I think that led Del Boy to feel so frustrated, because he didn't know that he was ahead on the cards after the point deductions. He probably felt like he had to win by knockout at that point, you know? And Del Boy tried so hard in the fight. It did feel like they'd done him dirty, you know? Again, take nothing away from Dillian Whyte's left hook. That was a tremendous punch. He's lethal with that shot. But the referee, I personally didn't like his actions there. I also was a little surprised by, let me not even say a little surprised. I wasn't surprised, but I was a little cynical. Yeah, I was a little skeptical, let's say, about how all the Sky guys had Dillian Whyte ahead. Again, we come to expect this thing from, I mean, you got it on BT Sport. You know, you get it with them and their home fighters. They tend to be very favorable in terms of their in-house scorecards. And the same with Sky, very favorable with their in-house scorecards. And if Dereck Chisora made a mistake in this fight, it was not being with Eddie Hearn. Because the last time he fought Dillian Whyte, he was a Sauerland fighter. Then he joined Eddie Hearn, but for the rematch with Dillian Whyte, he wasn't with Eddie Hearn again, he was with Haymaker. And he ain't going to get no favors being with a different promoter. You understand? So that's probably the biggest mistake he made in the fight. Other than that, Dereck Chisora looked hench in this fight. I've never seen Dereck Chisora look so muscular, like his back and his arms and everything looked big. At first, I actually felt like Dereck looked a bit too tight in the first round, as if the extra muscle took away from some fluidity. But after a couple rounds, he warmed up a bit and he started letting his shots go a bit better. But still, he did have the look of a man who was forcing a lot of his work, Dereck Chisora. There were nice body shots going in, but it wasn't the rhythm that you used to get from Dereck Chisora. You know, when he fought Robert Helenius, even when he fought Klitschko, he used to get into this kind of percussive rhythm, but he didn't really have a rhythm this time. He was just walking forward. There wasn't really much bobbing and weaving. Remember, Dereck Chisora used to do a lot of bobbing and weaving back in the days. In this fight, there was no real bobbing and weaving, just walking forward, looking very angry and a bit stiff and clubbing away with hooks to the body and trying to get hooks upstairs to the head. You know, to be 100% fair here to Dillian wasn't getting caught with a lot of clean headshots. Yeah. Dillian's work, for the most part, in terms of his shots to the head, they were better quality punches than Dereck Chisora was landing. You know, I have to be real about that. Dillian's punch quality was better, but his punch volume was just so low in a lot of the rounds. So even though he was doing a better quality work and he was landing these nice little counters and stuff like that, the volume just wasn't there. It was just a really odd performance from Dillian. But as I say, that left hook in the 11th round, I guess, erased the memory of the previous. Look, this was a good fight. I'm not trying to make out this wasn't a good fight. It was a good fight. It wasn't as good as the first fight, though. The knockout was spectacular, but it wasn't as fiery and frenetic as the first fight. But that knockout will probably erase the previous 10 rounds in the minds of most people. And again, Dillian Whyte's left hook puts another man down. Yeah, this year, 2018, has been the year of Dillian Whyte's left hook emerging as a real force in the heavyweight division. It kind of, I don't want to say it's on the level of fellow Jamaican Razor Ruddock's left hook, but it might be getting there. You know, Donovan Razor Ruddock had a tremendous left hook. Maybe Dillian Whyte is following in them footsteps. So, yeah, overall, it was a great result for Dillian Whyte. That's the result he wanted. He wanted to stop Dereck Chisora next time around. I did pick Dillian Whyte to win. I felt like he would win. But, yeah, maybe he's just had a long year and he lacked energy. Maybe he's overtrained. I don't know what it is. You do need to take a rest in this game of boxing. You can become run down from successive training camps and whatnot. And I just felt like even though he was lighter here than he was in the Joseph Parker fight, in the Parker fight, to me, he had a lot more energy. You know, he fought with a lot more ferocity to me in the Parker fight. And again, fighting with ferocity doesn't mean you have to be reckless. It just means you've got energy to explode with shots when you need to. You know? And here he just, yeah, he exploded with single shots, like the single shot that ended the fight. But man, he left it so late. Do you know what I mean? That fight was, he was in serious danger of losing that fight on points. So, yeah, onwards and upwards, I guess, for Dillian Whyte and for Dereck Chisora. I can't help but feel a little bit sad because he tried so hard and he came so close. He was actually ahead on the cards. They weren't going to rob him. Yeah, the fact that he had 2 points deducted and 2 judges still had him ahead, that means they weren't going to rob him. So close, yet so far, teamed up with David Haye, trained so hard. And to have that happen to him, you know, I definitely feel for him, man. I have to feel for him. Now, Anthony Joshua got in the ring after the fight, and he was talking about a rematch with Dillian Whyte. And it was interesting hearing the crowd's reaction because there was a lot of boos. And I'm not sure whether they were booing Dillian's reaction to Joshua being in the ring, or whether they were booing Joshua fighting Dillian instead of Deontay Wilder or booing Anthony Joshua's demeanor. I'm not sure what it was that they were booing, but it was something the crowd wasn't happy about. And I've said previously, and I'll say again now, Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte, the rematch, is just not a fight that me personally, I want to see on April 13th. I would actually rather see, well, obviously the priority would be Anthony Joshua versus Wilder. If not, then Anthony Joshua versus Fury. And if not that, Anthony Joshua versus Miller. Yeah, Joshua versus Miller, to me, I would prefer that over Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte, the rematch at this point. You know, that's just my personal preference. Okay. One of the Sky team suggested Dillian Whyte versus Jarrell Miller. Now, I've said for a long time, and this will probably get me banned from Brixton. If Dylan hears this, Baby Ting hears this, I'll probably get banned from ever going back to Brixton, right? But I've always said, for at least the past year or more, that I think Big Baby Miller beats Dillian Whyte. Yeah, Dillian Whyte's left hook is no joke, though. And if he catches Big Baby Miller in the chin with that left hook, be very interesting to see what happens. But any of you can go back and look at my previous videos where I've mentioned Whyte versus Miller, and I've been consistent in saying I think Jarrell Miller beats Dillian Whyte. Jarrell Miller is 300 pounds. He's a huge man. And if Dereck Chisora can out-hustle Dillian Whyte, push him back to the ropes and out-strength him like that for the best part of 11 rounds, I'm telling you, Jarrell Miller will ragdoll Dillian Whyte, in my opinion. Like, he's really going to put some serious pressure on him. So, yeah, I would pick Jarrell Miller in that fight. Will Dillian Whyte take it? Dillian Whyte is a warrior. He's a very brave man, you know, and I don't think Dillian Whyte would shy away from the fight. But, you know, I personally wouldn't pick him to win. It'd be very interesting. And hey, just because I wouldn't pick him to win, it don't mean I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe Dillian Whyte would put a beating on Jarrell Miller or outpoint him. You know, who knows? But I just feel stylistically, given the trouble that Dillian Whyte has had with Dereck Chisora in 2 fights, Jarrell Miller is bigger than Chisora. He's stronger than Chisora. He throws more punches. Much younger, fresher. Might even have a better chin at this stage. So that's how I feel about that. Dillian Whyte seemed frustrated when Anthony Joshua was talking about, you know, I'm not sure if the fight's going to happen next. It was all very strange. And Anthony Joshua came in with some real dark energy tonight. You know what I mean? All the PC persona that he likes to put on mainstream television for the kids and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the mask wasn't on at all tonight, and it was the mean, vicious, you know, fighter underneath it, which showed up tonight in terms of AJ. You know, he just came with the dark, satanic energy tonight, boy. Maybe it's just because he just met the royal family. I don't know what it was, but yeah, he came with some dark energy, and he sucked the life out of the Sky team at the end. Did you see that? When the Sky team were talking to Joshua, everyone was like, ugh. He just sucked the energy right out of the Sky team. Jeez, AJ. So yeah, let me know what you think of Dillian Whyte's performance, where you think he should go from here. Will he get his shot against AJ in April? Will you be disappointed if that fight happens? How do you see that fight going? I would definitely be picking AJ to win. He won the first fight. I think he'd win the second fight. But, you know, Dillian Whyte would have to fight a very clever fight. He fought a pretty clever fight first time around, to be fair. But he'd have to fight, you know, a clever fight again. So, you know, use that left hook counter, try and walk AJ onto stuff, you know, try and goad him before the fight and get him to fight reckless if he possibly can. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments, and, you know, Dylan's performance, Dereck Chisora, where he goes from here, if he can come back. And yeah, just let me know how you feel, people. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.